Well, what's up, guys? Today we're doing the Nmap post port scans. So what this is the difference between this and some of the ones we've done in the past is this is what you do once you know what ports are available. So it's more of actually scanning for service detection, operating systems, that type of thing, once you know that an actual host is live and there's ports available to scan. Now, keep in mind that this, and it'll cover it in here, but this is not a scan that you can do and not touch the system, meaning you cannot not connect to that system, which means you need permission is what my point is. Okay, so hopefully you guys are liking this series. This is the last of the Nmap series. I think they do a good job on this, but I think there's a lot more to cover on this. It's just a deeper topic than they have time for. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so this is just telling you kind of the way that Nmap scans work and the process that they use. So we'll go ahead and complete that. You guys can read that if you'd like. All right, so service detection. So what this is you can see it says SV is the syntax for it. And what it's going to do is it's going to try and figure out what service is running and what version it is. Now, keep in mind, when you do a normal Nmap scan, if you do a stealth scan, you can guess the service based on the port that's open, but it's a guess, okay? If you do this service detection here, the SV, it won't guess. What it's going to do is it's going to try and get certain responses and test certain things to see what version and what service is running. Now, with that said, this is an intrusive scan, so it's going to actually connect to that port and it's going to do some things. So with that said, keep in mind that you're more likely to get busted doing this type of scan than you are doing a stealth scan because you're actually connecting to that. Now you can see here you have 0 to 9 as far as intensity. So if you do 0, it's not going to give you that much information, but it's also not going to be very loud, right? If you do 9, it's going to give you a lot of information and it's going to be very loud. It shows you that there's also a version light that just does a version or the intensity of 2 for you, but it will proceed with the TCP three-way handshake, so that's important to know. So if you do run a stealth scan and try to do the SV option, it will run the stealth scan first. That's what you're seeing here. It runs the stealth scan first, but then right here, it's going to give you the service information. That actually is still connecting. So you're not actually using the stealth scan anymore. You're connecting. So keep that in mind. Anytime you're using the version, you're getting more than a stealth scan. So make sure you know what you're doing when you do these because you are connecting to that host. All right. So here it says start the target machine for this task and launch the... So basically we're trying to figure out the service version, right? So we want SV, and we're going to do the version light, which is just a intensity of 2. All right, and we're going to run this. And it's asking us what is the detected version for port 143. Now, some of you might be asking, why do we care what the port version is? Why does it matter, right? Well, like right here. So let's see, where's 143? Right here. Okay, so this is what it's looking for. But like right here, it's telling us the exact version of the open SSH. So all you got to do is open up here and go to Google. I meant to do that. Google, and then we'll go here and we'll say open SSH 6.7 P1 exploit. Right? And there's vulnerabilities. There's the vulnerabilities that you could use to access this machine right here. Privilege escalation, denial of service, security restriction bypass, man in the middle. There's a bunch of vulnerabilities that is available just knowing this version right here. So keep that in mind. There's obviously sites that are out there that you would use. You wouldn't necessarily just Google it. You might, but depending on what attack you're doing. But keep that in mind that you're getting the information because you're trying to build up an attack, right? You're trying to plan your way in before you do it. Because if you just start spraying attacks at these boxes, you're going to get caught in 10 seconds. You have to have a coordinated, very intelligent attack to not get caught. Now, if you're doing a pen test, yeah, you're probably spraying, right? Because if that's the type of test that they want. So it just depends on what you're doing and when you're doing it. That's why they give you the option for intensity and not automatically say, well, you're going to get caught, so we're going to keep the intensity low. All right. So the first question is asking, what is the detected version for port 143? So it wants the actual detected version. So we've got dovecot, IMAP, boom. Which service did not have a version detected? And that's RPC bind. And what that means is just that it couldn't get the information. It couldn't do it without going outside the scope of what that version detection does. Okay. All right. So now we're looking at OS detection and Traceroute. So this one is pretty common. You'll see it quite a bit if you're doing any of these boxes. Basically, you just use the O, and it's going to try and figure out what operating system it's using and also what version of the operating system. So you can see here, Nmap detected the OS to be Linux 3.x, and then it guessed further, and it was running 3.13. So you can see here, running 3.0. Now, you notice they did the scan first and then went for the OS detection. That's fine. But anyway, 3.13, perfect. So it guessed it, right? Sounds great. Sounds awesome. The problem is you want to be careful with knowing that that's the version using Nmap. So what I mean by that is Nmap is very good at guessing whether it's Linux or Windows, but they may be wrong on this version number. Keep that in mind, because what they're doing is they're basically just trying to get as close as they can based on information that the computer will give it. So there's a lot of times where it might be Linux and they might say 3.13, right? But it might be Linux 2 point something. Just based on their results, it's not always accurate. So take that with a grain of salt, like it says here. Always take the OS version with a grain of salt. The good news is you're still going to get information. You're still going to get the Linux. You're still going to get Windows. And you're probably going to get a fairly good idea of what you're looking at. All right, Traceroute, we've covered that in the past. But you can actually run Traceroute directly with your box. So instead of doing like your Traceroute first, if you're using Nmap, you can go ahead and throw it on there and you can follow the trace of Nmap. So if you guys don't know what Traceroute is, you can go through some of our previous ones in the Junior Pentesting Lab and we cover Traceroute in it. So it's saying here, run Nmap with the TAC O option. So that's just the operating system we're trying to figure out. Boom. And what OS did Nmap detect? So we're trying to figure out what operating system does Nmap find here. And I can tell you just based on the little asterisk, it's probably Linux. Yep, it's Linux. And you can see it right here. Where is it? Oh, it says no exact matches were found. Okay, interesting. Yeah, it didn't actually find it. I just guessed based on the fact that it only had enough asterisks for Linux, but I'm surprised it didn't actually find it. Interesting. The only reason I'm surprised by that is because of the fact that it tells you to find it, right? But all right, we've got it. We know it's Linux. That's why I say be careful when you're doing the operating system, because it's not always accurate. And if you get a result like that, you don't know. But you can guess pretty well too. Typically, there's certain things that are ran on Linux servers that are probably not going to be ran on Windows servers. If you see like an Apache server or something like that, you can pretty well guess it's going to be Linux. So just keep that in mind, that the operating system is a guess, right? Let's see. Okay, so now we're doing scripting engine. This is actually really important to know. It's also a really good tool to use. So this is Nmap Scripting Engine in SE, and you'll notice all the files are named .nse files, okay? So if you guys don't know what a script is just a piece of code that doesn't need compiled. So if you're using like Python, it compiles the code or whatever, and you'll need a compiler or whatever. This is not that. this will run excuse me, I just lost my train of thought. This will actually run directly with the instructions that you give it. So if you ran regular commands here, you could create a file, put multiple commands in a row, run it as a script. That's what a script is. Okay. These are all scripts that people wrote that do a function for you in Nmap. So you can see there's hundreds of them. So I'm not going to walk through all of them. You can specify, use any group of these installed scripts, and it shows you here some of the categories so when you find these scripts, and it'll show you here, if we go on our box, if you go to cd user share Nmap scripts and we hit ls, you can see here's all the scripts. Now you notice there's categories almost, right? FTP, HTTP, RPC, these are all kind of DNS. These are all categories, if you will. And I know it's just a naming convention, but it's actually a category for you. And you can see here, it's telling you what these kind of do, right? So if you go down here and you see vulnerability, you can see here it says checks for vulnerability. So that's what it's going to do. Another way you can check this, and I think it's important that you know this, is like, let's just pick a random one here. Let's go DNS update.nse so we can open it. I don't know if I'm on here. So cat DNS update.nse. And if you cat it, if you don't know how to read this, that's fine. You go to the top and it's going to say here, attempts to perform a dynamic DNS update without authentication. Okay, perfect. So that's what it does. It's going to try and automatically change their DNS without an update. Cool. Got it. So that's what you want to do before you run these scripts. You want to know what you're doing, because some of these will do some stuff that you don't realize. Some of them will try and deny service. Some of them will try and brute force, that type of thing. And if you don't know what you're doing, you could get caught real easy, but you could also crash the system. All right, so we use Nmap to run a SYN scan, and execute the default scripts in the console shown below. So if you use this command sc, it'll run the default scripts. What that means is it's going to run your basic scripts to give you information that you want. It's not going to run like a brute force attack or anything like that. It's going to run your basic scripts to give you as much information as you can. All right, so you can specify the script by using the name script name. So if we wanted to actually specifically say we want this script or whatever, we can just do it by this tac script and then the exact script name, right? And then here, like it says here, or a pattern such as script FTP, which would include FTP brute. So what that means is, if you just do a pattern like this, script FTP with the asterisk, it's going to run all the FTP scripts. Now, that's why they're saying here it includes FTP brute, because it's important to know that if you're including that FTP brute in there, it's going to try and brute force. So if you do this and you're not aware of that, you may get blocked pretty quick by someone, because they're going to say, oh, someone's trying to brute force us, right? So you don't want that. So you know it's going to happen pretty quick. All right, and here you can see these are just kind of giving you an example. This is a script for the date. No big deal. It's going to tell you the date on the server as opposed to the date in real time. And the reason that's important is because you want to be able to make sure that your servers are synced up with your time server. All right, so now knowing that Nmap scripts are saved here, what does the HTTP robots.txt check for? So what they did here, and the reason I have some of these answered, by the way, guys, is because when they ask questions like this, they're looking for a specific answer that may not be obvious. And when I say that, I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to look for we're going to go ahead and cat the HTTP robots.txt, okay? And we'll go up here. Now, if just looking at that, I could tell you what it's going to do. It's checking the robots.txt file on web servers to see what entries they don't want you to see. So what I mean by that is, if you go to tryhackme.com robots.txt, you see the disallow, it's going to give you those results because you want to see what they don't want you to see, right? That's what it is. And that's fine. But here it's looking for checks for disallowed entries in the code robots.txt on web server. So the answer is just disallowed entries. So that's kind of a weird one because you have to guess, like, do they want the whole thing? Do they want just these words? What do they want? So that's why I answer them beforehand, because I don't want to sit here and guess them and waste your guys' time. So can you figure out the name for the script that checks for remote code execution, vulnerability, MS15, blah, 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 blah? It's pretty easy. I'll show you how. So if you're trying to find the script that has this exact vulnerability, well, for one, they give it to us, CVE 2015. They give us an easy one because if you look, CVE 2015, there's only 2 of them. So it's this one, CVE 2015 1635. And you probably could even guess it because it's telling you remote code execution vulnerability. Well, we know the category is vuln. We know the CVE. We just need the HTTP, right? All right. So now it says launch the attack box if you haven't already. After you ensure you have terminated the VM from task 2, start the target machine. We've done that. Run nmap. So we want nmap tech sc on 10, 10. And this is going to run the default scripts. And this will take just a little bit, but that's fine. And it says start, you'll notice that there's a service listening on port 53. What is the full version value? So here's 53. They want the full version. So they want that 9.9.5.9 plus deb 8u19 Debian. And that's not what they want. Okay. Oh, yes it is. I just messed up. I put an F in there for some reason. I must have had my fingers all messed up. Okay, so we want deb 8u19. I had my fingers on the wrong set, I guess. 9.9.5.9 plus deb 8u19 Debian. Maybe they don't want this part. Alright, what am I doing here? Alright. You'll notice there's a service listening on port 53. Yes, we see that. Do they want the whole thing? Like, I'm saying they want 9. Alright, see, this is why I answered these questions before, because this is the guessing part of it. 9.9.5 through 9. Yeah, that's what... I just must have misspelled it or something. I know I had my fingers on the wrong keys there for a minute. 9.9.5 through 9 plus deb 8u19. They don't want that, so then Debian. I could have sworn I did that the first time, or not the first time. The first time I had F something, but whatever. So there's the version they want, okay? And they're just trying to have you run these scripts so you can see what the results look like and things. They don't expect you to know all this stuff. They just want you to get your hands on and do it. All right, so now based on this script, reports the number of algorithms for encryption, blah, blah, blah. The target has offered. What's the name of the key exchange algorithms? So what they're wanting you to do, again, is get used to opening up the script. And if you cat it, where are we at here? Here we go. And they're looking for, and they tell you here, which one relies upon SHA-1. Well, there's only 2 that rely upon SHA-1. And it says, and is supported by 10.10.1. Okay, cool. So we know there's 2 in here. We need to know which one does it, right? And you don't have to read it first, but I recommend reading it first if you're not familiar with what it's doing. That's why I do it. So now we want to do nmap, and we want to do sv, and we want the script to be, or we'll do, sorry, I said sv. We want script and then we're going to want that SSH2, and you see it filled it for us. That's always a good rule of thumb. If it fills it for you, you're pretty certain it's good. All right. And you can see here, the one it's going to give us is this one here, Diffie-Hellman Group 14 SHA-1, and that's the answer right there. You see that? All right. So now we're going to go with how we actually output things. All right, so we need to go ahead and terminate this, start this. All right, normal, greppable, and XML. So this is saving the output. This is important, really important actually. It's very simple, but very important. So there's 3 types of ways to save it. Realistically, there's technically 4, but you'll see. So normal is what it looks like when it comes out like this. Now that's great if you just want to open it up for 1 or 2 hosts and look at it. The reason we save it in greppable format, which looks like this, and the reason it looks bad is we'll show you. So this is what it looks like when it's normal. And if you want to save it in normal, you just do tac on, and that will save the output. Tac on, then the file name, and that'll save the output to whatever file name you specify. If you want OG, that's file name, that's greppable. What it does is, you can see the difference here. If this is the normal one, if I grep it, meaning I'm looking for a specific keyword, and he did here HTTP, this is all you get, right? Now, you might say that's enough. It's enough if you have 1 host. But if you're scanning 50 hosts and you just find 5 lines that say this, you don't know what host is open for HTTP. You don't know anything. So if you do the grep, you see you get the host name, the ports, you get a lot of information from them. So you can see all the hosts that are actually susceptible. And that's important to know. So the greppable format is what I recommend. XML, if you guys aren't familiar with XML is a language to take data and put it into other applications and things. So the XML file will allow you to export that data in a way that's convenient, right? Script kiddie, you don't want that. It's just here. You can see, look at it. It's a joke. Literally, it's a joke. Like, it's supposed to look like you're doing some crazy shit, but you're not. It's just supposed to be funny. All right, so now this one here, it tells you to secure copy. The secure copy is all messed up, so I don't recommend it personally. I would just do this. Where is it? I thought I had another one open. I must have got rid of it. I would just SSH into it. So we'll go ahead and SSH pentester at 10. This is even easier in my opinion, but then trying to copy them over and then open them on your machine, whatever. So I just SSH into it. Yes, I'm sure. The password is THM17577. And there we go. And then I'll go ls. And it asks us, check the Nmap logs, how many systems are listening on HTTPS port. So that's where we grep HTTPS. And we'll say we have to scan the greppable one, because if we don't, then we won't get the results we want. And you can see here, we have host 172, 172, 172. So we have 3 hosts. And there's the answer, 3 hosts. Okay, so now, what is the IP address of the system listening on port 8089? That's the same thing. You just grep, but instead of HTTPS, we want to grep for 8089. Boom, and look how easy that is. Now, you can see that's the host name, 172.117.20.147. Okay, now let me show you this file. So if we open the file, which is scan whatever, and we'll even just open the regular one, because look at how many hosts there are here, right? So we just found all the hosts that are vulnerable on HTTPS and which one is listening on 8089, and that with grep in 10 seconds using the greppable one. So keep that in mind. That's the difference. All right, guys, that's it for this box. It's pretty simple, but it's very good information. Saving it is big. Scripting is big. The OS detection and traceroute, you could figure that out pretty easily. The service detection's big, and those are the 3 main things I think you should focus on. I think you guys will get a lot of information from this, especially the scripts. You can do a lot with them if you actually want to. mess around with them, but make sure you do it on a VM, because they do have things in there that if you don't read them, you're not going to know what's going on. So hopefully you guys liked it. If you did, hit that sub button, hit the like button. It helps out a ton, and we're going to keep on going. We're trucking through this junior pen testing lab, and we're done with the Nmap series. So next is I don't even know what next is, but next we're going to dive right into, I know that one point here soon we're doing the actual exploitation. So hopefully you guys like it, and hopefully you guys keep watching, and hopefully you guys have a great day.